The work consists of a series of aviaries, a sort of sculptural environment, which I made a series of sculptures made from birdseed. These are actually casts of the human body, which I've then replicated in birdseed, and slowly the idea is that, the body, in death, the body goes back to nature. So these sculptures are slowly being consumed by the birds, and some of the seed falls to the ground, some of the seed passes through the bird, and then from that seed, from the earth in the aviary underneath, sort of new life springs forth. So there's this sort of idea of the sort of cycle of life within the work. I wanted to make a piece which really had two sort of meanings, two sort of readings to it. On one, this idea of the body that goes back to nature, and then the other, I wanted to make a piece which had a very subtle political undertone to it. So I decided to use a bird which is a non-native bird, and actually it's a bird which is an Indian myna, which is it's also the most reviled bird in Australia because it's highly invasive, and it seems to create a real reaction in people when you even mention the bird. And so I chose this bird specifically because when I asked to make this project, it was at the time when we were seeing globally the huge problem with the refugee situation, and I really wanted to make a work which reflected on this idea of what is seen as invasive or what is seen as displaced. And I chose this bird very specifically because I felt I could talk about some of these issues in a very subtle way. And I think with the seed sculptures, there's a sort of sense of the sort of presence and absence of the body, that these things are slowly being consumed and will eventually disappear, like the body, when we die, we disappear, we go to the ground. But the fact that they're made in birdseed is that there is a sort of potential of life within the sculptures. They're sort of life in stasis because they're about to germinate. So there's this sort of sense of death and life at the same time within the sculptures. I actually wanted the sculptures to sort of still stay within a certain abstraction. I didn't want them to be totally figurative, so I've only chosen small body areas. And there's a sort of, I guess some of them look like severed limbs, and I wanted to make this connection with nature and the tree and the limbs of a tree, and that's why there's so many trees in those sculptures. So there's this sort of constantly this connection between the human body and the tree or nature. So also in the piece I wanted to have this sort of tension between what is native and what is not native. So everything that the piece is made from is native to Australia. So all the timber, all the grass that is growing, the earth, the only thing that's not native is the bird. And so there's this sort of subtle play between the sort of native and the non-native. And it's an issue that I really felt like I wanted to address in relationship to the idea of migration and immigration, where it really puts into question what, this kind of society that we are building, where, and ask the question of like, what is native, what is not native, and what is this kind of world that we are creating.